Okay, the Board of Governors meeting is called to order. I am going to cut very short my comments. I was hoping I could spend a little bit of time talking about our universities and what they're doing, but we're way behind schedule today. But I want to just thank you all for your participation. I appreciate the fact that so many presidents are here, and I would very much encourage all of you, when you go back, to encourage your presidents to attend these meetings. I think it's very important that we continue the dialogue, and thank you so much to Rhea Law and Nancy Blosser, the two board chairs who have been able to come today, and I encourage that participation as well. I want to congratulate President Genshef for receiving an honorary degree from St. Petersburg College, and in recognition for her cooperation and open-mindedness in the development of their baccalaureate programs there, and I think it has been very helpful and useful. And being a graduate of that institution, I want to welcome you as a fellow alum. Thank you very much. So thank you also for hosting this this meeting. I know that these are very difficult for every university. Beautiful facility. This is my second time here, and it really is state of the art, and I guess you're the envy for the week for having the best and the newest student center. But it is lovely, and I know that the students are very happy with what they have here. This is an opportunity to talk a little bit about our schools. But first, I want to recognize, as everyone knows, earlier this week, the Chancellor told us that he has decided to leave us in February of 2009 and to return home to FIU. My buddy Mark here had made a commitment only to stay for 2 years, and he stayed another year, and before it's over, it's going to be a little bit more than another year. And so we really appreciate what he has done. He has made tremendous contributions to the way we do business, and he has guided us through some very, very challenging times, and we're far better as a result of his leadership, and we want to thank you very much for that. And I want everyone to understand that he is still going to be helping us complete some of the initiatives that we've started, particularly as they relate to funding and the GI Bill, developing programs to be sure that we can capture the many opportunities that come from that, and a program that he's working on with the Chilean government, which will have a very positive impact on our system. So thank you very much, Mark, and I know that you'll be happy back on those campuses with the students that you do. As you've heard, I have been going around to each of our institutions and have had an opportunity not only to visit with their boards and the presidents, but also to get a little slice of what they have been doing in their schools. And I've been to 7. I have 4 more to go. It's been a whirlwind tour, and after having done all that, it was a little bit disheartening just listening to this last conversation, because I felt as though we were developing the rapport that we needed, and we were developing our system, the cohesiveness of our system again. And this, to me, this issue that we were discussing of enrollment is a system question. And I really felt that it's important for us to understand it's a policy question. It's not a governance question, not in my mind. It's a policy question, and we are a policy body. And I'm hoping that as we are better informed on the subject, that we bear that in mind going forward. I do want to congratulate, even though we are concerned about the financial condition of that we're faced with, but we're not the only ones, all of state government. I do want to report that we should be celebrating our universities, because there's a lot of really neat stuff going on out there, and they're doing a fabulous job. As a board, you would be very pleased to know that the kind of cutting-edge things that are going on in those institutions are directly related to our economy and are going to offer our students the kind of well-rounded and exciting experience that college should be all about. We have opportunity now to congratulate many of our institutions with the U.S. News and World Report annual rankings of public and private institutions. We remain very proud of the University of Florida being ranked 17th in of all public national universities, and also within the top 50 of all public and private universities. FSU is now 50 among all public and private universities, and that's a big step for the second one of our institutions. The magazine also recognized two other of our institutions, UCF and USF, among the up-and-comers. 70 other colleges and universities were recognized as those who made promising and innovative changes in academics, faculty, students, campus, or facilities, and UCF and USF are among those in that very selective category. So we should be very proud of those. The Patent Board scorecard ranked 122 universities involved with their patenting and research, and UCF came in as number 8. That's a big kudos to you. But of course, New College is way up there again in the they continue to be ranked among the nation's top public liberal arts college. U.S. News ranked New College as the 5th best public liberal arts college in the United States and 94th among all public and private liberal arts colleges in the country. And that is a very significant ranking. Forbes also ranked New College as number 3 among the publics and number 29 overall of all public and private liberal arts colleges. So we have a lot to celebrate here in Florida, but let me just spend a minute, if I can, and I'll just run through this very quickly, so don't look at the speech as an art form, because it's not going to be. But I want to just tell you a little bit about some of the things that I've seen. I first went to UCF in July, and they had the opportunity to show me their new medical campus. And it is very, very significant. It's they have there a total medical and research complex. The site will have a new VA hospital, a children's hospital, the Burnett Biomedical Building, which I think, is that the one that will house MD Anderson?
Yes.
And then you also have the Burnham facility is being built right there as well. And so they have a very well-planned, well-designed, and integrated medical complex, and it's really fabulous. And we should be very proud of that. Do you want to say something?
Well, University of Florida will have a building there too.
That's right. That's correct. Absolutely. So all of that together is going to be a real resource for their community, and the delivery of service and the education of medical students. Also had the opportunity, they took me by helicopter, we went downtown, and they showed me their Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy, which is a very well-designed facility in the heart of downtown, which is said to be the finest on the East Coast. And I guess there's many commercials filmed there, a number of opportunities for entertainment professionals. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes type education for television and other kind of digital interactive models.
Electronic games.
Yes.
Big thing.
A number of games. But we also, in the course of that, were able to see Florida A&M's new law school, which is located downtown, very beautiful building. When I was at University of Florida, I felt like I was going back to my days at TECO because I got to spend a lot of time with the leader of the Florida Energy Consortium, which is a University of Florida faculty member, Tim Anderson, and he will be coordinating and administering all the $50 million that is being devoted to developing new technologies and renewable energy sources and opportunities and technologies to deliver energy in a more reasonable way here in Florida. And hopefully it gave me an opportunity to talk about a lot of things I used to talk about every day, and hopefully I'd like to keep involved in that. And they offered that I could be on their advisory board, so I took that seriously. I'd very much like to do it because there are many areas that I've worked in for years and was very interested in pursuing. Also had the opportunity to meet Dr. Lonnie Ingram, who is a world-class scholar. He's the developer of the patented cellulosic ethanol process, which is now the heart of a publicly traded company with end-to-end capability to produce cellulosic biofuels. They're in the process now of having 2 demonstration plants, one in Louisiana and one in Florida, and it has already proved itself profitable in a Japanese facility. So looking forward to that. There's a small plant on the University of Florida campus that will allow them to make changes in the process as you move through and to run many of the experiments. At USF, I spent a good bit of time with their medical school personnel, went through their outpatient clinic, which is kind of a mini Mayo Clinic where you can come for soup to nuts, all one-stop shopping. It's a beautiful facility. We had the opportunity to hear about the things going on in their medical school. And of course, we all know that USF is the epicenter, they like to say, for diabetes research in the United States or maybe in the world, with Dr. Jeffrey Kreischer, who is the recipient of about $320 or $30 million in research grants and is doing cutting-edge research, and it's all right here in Tampa on one of our universities. At FIU, I was able to meet a scientist who's a medical doctor just receiving his PhD in biomedical engineering, and he was involved in the development of an artificial heart valve that is being done in conjunction with members of the biochemical industry, but it has the durability of a mechanical valve and the blood flow capability of the tissue valves, and there will, if they are successful through their animal trials, and they're in the midst of those, and I did get to see the film where they implanted the valve in a sheep, which was really kind of interesting to see. But if they are successful, then this valve will require no further surgeries, no further medication for people who receive that valve. And that's going on right here at Florida International University. So we should be very proud of that. They also were able to showcase at their board meeting one of their other engineering faculty who wanted to respond to a request from the Chinese government, who wanted to showcase energy efficient homes during the Olympics. And FIU told him that they didn't have the money to do that. And he somehow went out and raised the money and took the whole solar home to China. And so there was FIU right there, along with people from all over the rest of the world, showcasing technology developed there and showing off energy efficiency. I won't even comment. While people were having trouble breathing there in Beijing. But anyway, be that as it may, it showed innovation and creativity and the desire to get something done. And this was it was very impressive. When I was at New College, I was very impressed by the fact that New College, of course, is very different from a lot of the most of our schools, in that it is strictly a liberal arts college, but it requires research throughout the undergraduate experience, and everybody has to do a thesis, and so it's very much oriented to continuation into higher education beyond undergraduate. But the board heard reports from 2 undergraduate students, and let me just tell you a little bit about what they talked about. Josh Abbott, who is a math or computer science 4th-year student, holds a Goldwater Scholarship and spent the past summer at the undergraduate summer workshop in cognitive science and cognitive neuroscience at UPenn and then at the University of West Georgia for the National Science Foundation Research Experience for Undergraduates on combinatorics, number theory, and graph theory. And he went into a great deal of discussion about this, and I can't tell you exactly what he said, but it was very impressive. And you know what was the greatest thing about it? He was so enthusiastic about what he was doing, and I found that to be extremely rewarding. Stephanie Hootie, a biology chemistry major, described her summer lab research under a National Institutes of Health grant at All Children's Research Institute in St. Petersburg, doing work on the autoimmune disease lupus. The long-term goal of the research is to identify subsets of B cells that produce long-lasting antibodies capable of targeting many genetic variations in the AIDS virus. So these undergraduate students are working as an undergraduate to contribute to scientific breakthroughs, loving every minute of it, and understanding exactly what they're doing. So it was great. I then went on a tour of New College's beautiful campus. It continues to be the gem in our crown among all of you, and we need to protect and sustain that beautiful campus. They have historic buildings there. It's settled kind of in the midst now of USF's Manatee Sarasota campus, as well as Florida State University's performing arts facility. It's a very beautiful area, and I would encourage all of you all to visit. Last week before last, or last week, I was at FAU, had the opportunity to participate in their retreat and meet with their board. They're carving out a niche in biotechnology and ocean energy with their affiliations with Scripps, Torrey Pines, and Harbor Branch. And they have a lot of very exciting ocean energy research going on, and we heard a lot about it at our last meeting. We had presentations on the research that they're doing. Although these initiatives are just beginning, they bode well for positioning FIU for its future and the contribution of talent they're going to make to our economy going forward. So that was a very pleasant and enlightening experience. We also had the opportunity at their meeting, at their retreat, to meet with the three community colleges that are in their area and to listen to their views of the future. And that was interesting, of course, in light of the conversation we had earlier today. And lastly, I attended FSU last week, and I have to say I was really happy to be able to have the opportunity to ride through and take a detailed tour of the campus, because I really had not been in the inner sanctum of the FSU campus probably since I graduated over 40 years ago. And it's quite a lot different than it was then, but it is so beautiful, and it was I felt really good being able to see that. The most interesting thing one of the interesting things I saw was an old little building that had been there back when we used to pay parking tickets there, and I said to Larry, gee, is that building still there? He says, yeah. They just made it into a Starbucks this year, and I think the number's something like $7,000 a day they're taking in that Starbucks. So that's pretty interesting. But at FSU, of course, y'all have heard a lot about, what are we laughing about?
We need to go up on tuition at the top.
Well, I know, but that's probably true.
Probably took in a lot more a day in parking tickets back in the day.
No, not back then, because we were probably only paying about 25 cents. Today, they'd be paying about $15 probably. Anyway, I did spend time at the Mag Lab at FSU, which, of course, it's one of a kind in the whole world. And I'm very hard-pressed to tell you precisely what they do, but I do know that they are developing a number of technologies and materials that will be capable of being used in a number of industries, and one of which is, of course, the electric power industry, something that I do know about, and something that would contribute to the strength and security of our grid, and that was very exciting. And besides that, they have over 1,000 scientists a year that come through that facility to do research through the utilization of those magnets, and that has got to be just right there a tremendous boon for the economy in Tallahassee to have that many people coming through there and developing, moving along the research that they're working on through the use of FSU's lab. Additionally, they have so many other things that I could talk about, and I'm not going to. But I want to just take a minute and say thank you all very much for allowing me the opportunity to learn and to take up your time. But I think we should, as a board, take a minute here and congratulate and celebrate these universities and give them a hand. And then I'll have another report when I finish my tour. As the board continues in our mission, I hope that we can continue along together, that we need to work together as a system, and hope that we can all get on the same page and truck along together. I appreciate everybody's attention. I think it's important to note that the Florida Student Association is going to begin having their meetings, their regular meetings, to follow our board meetings so that more of their members will have an opportunity to interact with us and the members of all of the universities, and so I think that's a great opportunity for you. So I look forward to seeing everyone at our next meeting in Tallahassee on November 20th, and to the extent that we have telephone meetings, I encourage your participation. Thank you all very much. And with that, I'd like us to, has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes? Do we have
approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any corrections, modifications? Hearing none, are there any objections? Hearing none, minutes are adopted. Chancellor?
I will abbreviate my report, Madam Chair. I just want to report that there are a lot of things going on. We're focused now on the GI Bill. It will be very important for our universities and the state to make sure we get it right for next year. Our need-based task force has started with President Ammons. Our medical education task force is in the works with President Machen. Our distance learning task force, thanks to the work of Dr. Hitt and Dr. Jackson from Dr. Wallace from Jacksonville Community College, has already had its second meeting. President Genshaft is engaged in the state college system. We have a textbook affordability initiative to respond to the legislative mandate. And I would like to just take a moment and recognize Chris Krampert, who is the Executive Director of the Florida Student Association, who's working together with our students and our faculty to make sure we get it right. Chris, could you stand up and please be recognized by all of us? Thank you very much. I did want to reinforce the optimism that and the spirit of celebration that the chair carries forward to us. Let me tell you why I am optimistic. Our business community is now engaged in the challenges that we have, and they do have a sense of urgency. The governor's office has been incredibly supportive over the last year and a half, and I want to thank the Chief of Staff, Eric Eichenberg, and Shane Strum for that. Legislative staff are very much engaged on our challenges and understand them, as do a number of key leading legislators. So there's reason to be optimistic for that as well. And then finally, our new Madam Chair brings with her an intensity and a determination to help us move forward by design, and I couldn't be more optimistic because of that. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. This is the time when we're going to focus on something from the university. So today we're going to hear from the University of South Florida Research Partnerships, and Judy, President Genshaft, is going to introduce the topic, which will be presented by Dr. Karen Holbrook, their Vice President for Research and Innovation.
All right. Does everybody want to just take a stretch a minute or stand up, sit down? We're just thrilled to have you here and to talk to you just a little bit about the University of South Florida and the research and the partnerships. You know, this university is one that is dedicated to and has a very special mission. That is our research mission. And it's all about new discovery and making a difference for our community. And it is an economic stimulation for the economy of both, not only in this region, but the state and the nation. So, let me just say one thing. Remember this number, $360 million. $360 million. That is a new research high point for the University of South Florida and our research contracts and grants. By the way, this number is higher than Purdue University. This number is higher than all the publics and privates except one, and Bernie Machen left. Where is he? Bernie. Except for UF, it is higher than any other university in the state and higher than many, many, many nationally. And we're really, really proud of the research that we do, especially during the time that NIH, National Institutes of Health, NSF, and the others are decreasing their numbers federally. So I wanted to have an overview of this and to talk about how this works together with companies that decide to come in and settle in this area because of the research and the impact that we're making. I'd like to have Karen Holbrook, our fantastic, everybody ready? Our fantastic university vice president for research and innovation. But let me tell you that Karen is not new to Florida because she was the vice president for research at the University of Florida, and then went off to University of Georgia as the provost, and then was the president of the Ohio State University for 5 years, and now is back with us and is really a treasure. Thank you. Dr. Holbrook.
Okay. Did I do it? No. Oh. Let me go back. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Judy, Chairman McDevitt, members of the Board of Governors, presidents, and other colleagues. I really am thrilled to be here to say something about the research environment at the University of South Florida, and in adopting Judy's term for what we describe our university, I'm going to say that USF is the university of the future. And we say that because we're connected, we're growing up, we're only 52 years old, but we're growing up, we're entrepreneurial, innovative, dynamic, distinctive, and we are focused in what we do. And all of these things are going to come back in the various slides that I show you this afternoon. As President Genschaft has told you, we are very proud that over the last 5 years, if you look at our university-wide research, we have come up to $360 million of external funding. That's 17% higher than we were last year when we closed the books. And included in that is 72% increase in our NIH funding. This is a really extraordinary number when you think that NIH has been flat in terms of its funding, and for us to increase that much is really very substantial. 2 of our colleges increased very substantially. Arts and Sciences has a very high level of increase of 32% over the previous year, and in their number is 50% federal funding. USF Health has increased substantially to $208 million, and within that list of funding or group of funding of the colleges, public health and medicine have done extremely well, and public health has brought in some unique grants that we've not seen before in terms of money from the Gates Foundation to look at anti-malarial drugs. There are a number of other things I could point out that are distinctive about us, about the funding for this year. One is that our College of Education ranked #1 in the nation, ahead of UT Austin, in terms of expenditures as measured by the NIH and by the NSF. We've brought in several multi-million-dollar grants, and for those of you who remember Chairman McDevitt's comment about the amount of funding that Jeff Krischer brought in, that isn't what makes that number so high, because Krischer grants go over 15 years. And so they are aliquoted. There are aliquots for every year. So our numbers do not reflect all of his awards. And I'll say a little bit more about Dr. Krischer later on. If you look at the funding to date for this year, if you look at our first quarter funding, and if that's any predictor of where we're going to be for the next year, you can see that we are substantially ahead, and we look forward to seeing that continue in the same positive mode. Now, we said and I said in my title that we are focused, and I want to mention that we are focused in what we're doing in our new initiatives in education and research. And everything that we are trying to do, we are trying to fit into these 3 categories. Not everything will, but for the most part, almost anything goes into sustainability. We also talked about diabetes and autoimmune diseases, and if you think about that, why would you pick something so terribly focused? Well, obviously, the Krischer Awards lead to that, but if you look at what diabetes and autoimmune diseases are all about and what the ramifications are and what the underlying etiologic factors are for these diseases, you can pick up environmental diseases, you can pick up nutrition, you can pick up virtually anything in medicine and biomedical research and fit it into that category. And integrated neurosciences is an area that the University of South Florida has been very strong in. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our state partnerships and why this is an ideal focus for our university as well. Now, we said we were going to talk about partnerships this afternoon, and let me show you a slide that I've put together to identify the kinds of partnerships that I want to mention. The diagram is intentionally drawn the way it is. It is overlapping, not showing that each of these partnerships is independent, but rather interdependent, and the overlapping aspect is extremely important because anything you do with industry, for example, is likely to have a partner in the federal government with funding, likely to have a regional partner, likely to have a state partner. So overlapping all of these indicates that these are not separate. I'm going to give an example, and you see those on the outer circle, of one example for a state partnerships, federal, and so on. But for all of these partnerships, they are very important, not just to the university and to the faculty who are performing them, but they have output measures in terms of what happens in terms of new jobs for the state. Can we measure spin-off companies? Can we measure societal benefit? Talent development on our own campus and talent development for the state of Florida. We are providing solutions for the national benefit as well as healthcare advances and benefits to society. So all of these are very important. Let me start by talking about two of our important state partnerships. These are ones that have had significant state investment over the years. One, the Johnny B. Bird Senior Alzheimer's Center and Research Institute, which has become very important now under University of South Florida leadership as a nidus or as a nucleating factor to bring together a large range of neuroscience programs that exist on our campus in terms of the Integrated Neuroscience Initiative, which we have talked about. This is a very important initiative to bring together lots of activities that are ongoing to stimulate new activities, such as drug-related studies that come from companies, and we are partnering with a company right now who is looking at coming here strictly because of this. And even today I met with some of the members from Draper who I had no idea might be interested in neurosciences, but as we started to talk together, their interest in neuroscience is just as keen as their interest in sensors that they use in oceanographic research and other kinds of research, and I will mention them subsequently. So this is very important to us. It is also a center, again, as a state center that's brought in federal support through the ADRC, or the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, a very prestigious NIH award given to only a limited number of institutions, but very important for the state, the only one in the state, by the way, and this is also an institute that has a statewide mission. The other center I want to mention that has resulted from significant state funding is our Center of Excellence in Biomolecular Identification and Targeted Therapeutics. This was funded by the Board of Governors, and we thank you very much for this great support in 2007 to develop technology that would be commercialized, that will prevent, reduce suffering, and it will be an engine for growth in terms of drug development, drug design, and drug delivery. This is this is a very important program that's been significant in bringing a number of companies to the state, Draper being one of them, SRI being another one that wants to partner with us, Romark being another one that I'll mention subsequently. But it's been very important to get it up and running and going, and as a great recruiting tool for us in the state, and also a great recruiting tool to bring outstanding talent to the state in terms of new faculty and new investigators and new scientists and partners who want to work in this environment. Regional partnerships are also very important to us. We have on our campus the Tampa Bay Technology Incubator, or the TBTI, which serves a number of small businesses. These are businesses in our incubator that have either been brought here or they have been developed and spun off from university technology. The incubator, like all incubators, provides the business services, the backup, and funding to help these companies mature, grow, develop, and move out of the park. Two of them are on here, are going to be featured at BioFlorida this one weekend in this month. And if you look at the data on it, you can see that the average salary for folks working in these companies is around $72,000, and the amount of external funding that's been brought in is over $6 million. This is a very important activity for us, located in two different places on our campus and also located on the St. Pete campus. Industry partners I've mentioned a number of times already. These are actually three of our very significant major industry partnerships that have been put in place in the recent future. We're very excited about the Draper Labs coming here from MIT and from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to set up a presence both in Tampa on our research park and in St. Petersburg. For those of you who are not familiar with Draper, it is a not-for-profit organization that brings in about $400 million of revenue every year, has about 1,200 different faculty members, and their goal in coming to Florida is to set up a microtechnology cluster. So they're going to be working in our environment to develop a biomems facility that will develop sensors, that will develop platforms for drug delivery, it will develop diagnostic systems, and it will be important in tissue engineering. This is going to be, this company came to our particular campus because of the desire to work with the FCO-BIT, also to work with medicine, to work with engineering, to work with biology, physics, and chemistry. They are bringing faculty down right now. They are setting up, they are building in one of our research buildings, And they are also moving into St. Petersburg to develop a manufacturing facility that will make the biomems. In fact, makes the entire system, packages it, designs it, and for whatever need is most desirable. In fact, they work for the government in terms of designing very small, specialized systems. This is a very exciting partnership that has been created by working together with Hillsborough County, with the University of South Florida, with Pinellas County, the City of St. Petersburg, with Innovation Florida, with the Florida High-Tech Corridor, with the Chamber, with the Tampa Bay Partnership, and with the Tampa Bay Committee of 100. So this is a partnership that has many pieces to it that have been put together. Similarly, Romark Laboratories is moving into our research park for it. It is a small pharmaceutical company that has a unique platform for developing small molecules that are targeted to a number of pathologic diseases, particularly immunologic diseases, infectious diseases, and cancers. It is a company that has over 100 patents on one of its classes of drugs that they have uniquely designed, the thiazolid compounds, and the drug that they have developed specifically has more than 100 patents on it and is now being used to treat hepatitis C. So their work is going to be in drug development, specifically in related to chemistry, and they are moving in very shortly. And then the last company I'd like to talk about briefly is SRI International, and this is SRI International in St. Petersburg. This, too, is a very important company in partnering with us, particularly with our College of Marine Sciences, but the partners that brought them in were also, again, St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, state of Florida. This is a company that is developing technologies, engineering technologies, sensor technologies that are focused on ocean science, the maritime industry, and port security. It is a company that is very much engaged in biodefense, particularly of marine biodefense. And it's a company that's part of the National Center for Maritime and Port Security and is working with a number of experts to prevent, to respond to, and to recover from terrorist events in the maritime domain. That feeds in, actually, to another one of our significant partnerships that we have with the federal government. This began with a very large earmark that was established, that was put in place to set up the Center for Biological Defense. This is now a multidisciplinary center on our campus in the Research Park that carries out basic and translational research on bioterrorism and emerging infectious diseases. It has many partners engaged in it. It was established in the year 2000 with funding from the Army, and it has continued with a significant amount of funding. It brings in the Florida Department of Health and a network of Florida universities. There are grants that go to all of your universities around the state to participate in rapid clinical and environmental screening tests, in dual-use surveillance technologies, in other collaborations, and in educational programs to prepare professionals and emergency personnel for detection and responding to bioterrorism attacks. This is another center that has many partnerships all across the nation with a number of agencies funded by the federal government, funded within states, partnering with the Centers for Disease Control. And finally, the last partnership I'm going to talk about is one you've already heard about, and this is a global partnership. And you say, well, it's here on our campus. How is it global? This is a global partnership of the Krischer Group, and as you have heard a couple of times, it has two different components. About 3 years ago, the Krischer Group was funded with $167 million from the NIH to run what was called the TEDDY program. And the TEDDY program is one that is a consortium of 6 major centers across the nation and globally. You can see there are partnerships with Germany, particularly shown here, and I can't read the other one, in Finland. The middle one I can't read. Sweden, thank you. Those are the partnerships with the TEDDY program. What this is all about is Krischer Center is focused on type 1 diabetes mellitus, which used to be called childhood diabetes, or it used to be called insulin-dependent diabetes, and it was called childhood diabetes because it affects 1 in 300 children. This is a very high number. And these kids, they are now well aware, have a gene that predisposes them for type 1 diabetes, but Not every child that has that gene is going to contract the disease, is going to express it in terms of the disease. Those kids who do are what you want to understand. What are the factors that cause the expression of this disease? And the sense is that they are nutritional, they could be viral, they could be social economical, they could be psychosocial. They could be infectious disease oriented, but there are a number of environmental and other factors that may cause the expression of the disease. And the whole point of this study is to ask the question, what are the precipitating factors that cause some children to express the disease while other children do not? And this is why there are centers all over the world looking at this through the TEDdy project. And the TEDdy project actually stands for the Environmental Determinants of Diabetes in the Young. So this is a very, very exciting study. This has been organized by 4 institutes of the National Institutes of Health in terms of putting together the program and the data center. It is also funded by the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation and funded by the Centers for the CDC. That was his first $167 million in going to the program. This year, about 2 months ago, he received $127 million more for funding this program to look into it in greater depth and to design or lead to clinical trials. This expanded the network of programs that were engaged with us. Again, as Judy had mentioned, this is the epicenter, and I guess Chairman McDevitt mentioned the same thing. This is the epicenter for all of this research. And now in the TrialNet program, there are schools involved in Washington, Colorado, California, Texas, Minnesota, Indiana, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and 2 sites right here in Florida, besides ours, one in Gainesville and one in Miami. But it is also more of a global study. Canada, Finland, as I've said before, Sweden, UK, Italy, and Victoria. Very, very important program, very significant impact, very large amount of funding, but more importantly, it's what will come out of this that will make a difference to society and make a difference to the world in terms of what happens. Now, how do we prepare people to work in this environment? Obviously, all of these partnerships, all of these programs that are very much interconnected with one another depend upon having a prepared workforce. The first column obviously shows what we do. That's prepare our own students to go out into the workforce and hopefully to stay in this great state and participate in many of these activities through their undergraduate, graduate, professional, adult, continuing education programs. But we also have very special programs that train the workforce. One is FLATE, or the Florida Center for Manufacturing Education, Advanced Manufacturing Education. This is a partnership, again, between Hillsborough Community College, St. Petersburg College, University of South Florida, and the National Science Foundation. We have one of 33 regional grants that fund this program that is put in place to to prepare curriculum, to do statewide delivery of technical education programs, to design best practices, and to prepare students for very specific companies in some specific cases. For example, they'll be working with the BIT, our Biotechnology Center for Drug Design. They'll be working with Draper. And they're also written into the legislation for the Florida Energy Consortium. So they will also be part of that. But what they do is they prepare technical certificates, develop manufacturing specialists, quality specialists, medical device technicians. Going along with what they do in biotechnology, we also have master's degree programs, and you can see that one of our programs is the biotechnology program, which is the only professional master's degree program in supporting biotechnology workforce development in the state. It is one of other master's degree programs, and it was the first, but it's the only one that's actually certified as a professional master's degree program. Now, students can engage in that alone, or they can engage in a dual degree program that has both biotechnology and entrepreneurship. This is a very important program for us. And finally, we also have a Center for Entrepreneurship, which has now just been ranked number 5 in the nation by the Princeton Review and Entrepreneur Magazine as number 5, but also as number 2 among public institutions. This is a center that provides training, obviously, for entrepreneurship in terms of a master's degree. It involves business, medicine, public health, and engineering, and it intends to launch a graduate program, an undergraduate program in 2009. Within this center, students learn about new business planning, strategic market analysis, venture capital, product development, regulation, biomedical ethics, and the kinds of things you would expect to have in a program for people going into entrepreneurial businesses. So finally, let me conclude with just a pretty slide, talking about the future. As I've told you, we are focused on three major areas: sustainability, integrated neurosciences, diabetes, and immunologic disease. Part of the future rests, though, in where we live in the state of Florida. We are a coastal environment. We do have a number of programs like SRI. We care about the coastline. We care about the environment. We care about the energy. We have terrific opportunities in this environment, and all of these feed into the kinds of things we are doing. A number of companies have come because they are interested in being here, and I think we see this as one of our great assets: to be distinctive, to be entrepreneurial, to be innovative, and to be focused in what we do. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Holbrook. Very, very good and impressive presentation. Do we have any questions of Dr. Holbrook? This is an opportunity for us to learn more about what they're doing. Yes.
One of the comments, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have Karen present, and also to highlight the good work, interdisciplinary work that we do across the health science area, as well as our provost, Ralph Wilcox, who is just phenomenal in working on academic programs so that we meet all of the needs. It's very important, and it gives us a chance to say that as a research university, we've talked a lot about undergraduate programs, and we care deeply about the baccalaureate programs. But this is a university that is very focused not only on undergraduate, but on master's, doctoral, and professional education. So as a Board of Governors, it is very, very critical when we bring up a program for doctoral consideration, as we are going to do with our pharmacy program, with our programs in history or programs in political science and the rest, that please understand that this is a university that not only cares about its undergraduates, but in order to move forward in our research profile and in order to keep fabulous professors, we have to have them come and work with our doctoral students as well. It is our mission. It is our focus, and we're very, very laser-like in where we're going and what we're doing. So please understand, we care about undergrads, but we have to have these doctoral programs in order to build upon the profile that we have generated already. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and thank Dr. Holbrook and the provost for all that you do. The University of South Florida has a very, very focused mission, and our programs that you can help us with are thought through and carefully vetted through our Board of Trustees as well. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Dr. Holbrook, look, could you just very briefly highlight a couple of the research grants in arts and sciences?
Oh, golly, we have a lot of them in chemistry, in materials design and chemistry. It takes me a while to think about them specifically. What else do I want
Are
to
most
highlight?
of them in the basic sciences?
A lot of them are in the basic sciences, but a lot of them are partnership grants. And this is one of the things that we're working on, is how you get credit. But many of them cross different departments and different colleges. That's what's really exciting. And having put together now the School of Sciences and No. The basic sciences within arts and sciences. Now, the natural sciences, mathematics. The chairs have gotten together and decided that the most exciting thing is that they work across the borders and develop research grants together. So much of our normally, and we didn't show it this year, normally we do show our multidisciplinary, and I didn't show the whole array of things, but normally show the multidisciplinary grants. Let me give you an example of a very neat one that crosses disciplines, and of course that's in engineering and the arts and designing of the wheelchairs that has been so popular on TV lately to help mobilize people who are otherwise immobile to go places that they want to go, on beaches and on land where they normally couldn't, and even dancing and doing things to make them much more agile and have a life that is more similar to people who are totally ambulatory. So those are a couple of examples, but
Can I add that there's even one from our police chief who wrote a large grant and about helping improve safety in apartments that surround the campus. So it's just part of the whole mission of the university, and that's moving us forward.
Okay, any further questions from any of the members? Thank you so much, Dr. Holbrook. President Genschap. Okay, moving along to the consent agenda, items for approval. I'd like to have one motion. These are for final approval. We already took them up last time. There were no comments, so.
Second.
Any objection? Hearing none, show the consent agenda adopted. Next is committee chair reports. Governor Parker, Facilities Committee.
Yes, Madam Chair. There is one item that we need to present to the full board for consideration. That is adoption of the 0809 fixed capital outlay budget, with the understanding that this is the first round, that it will likely change at our November meeting. So I would submit that to the committee, or to the full board for consideration.
Approval?
910, excuse me.
And the notice of intent.
Excuse me, there's also one regulation of which was just submitted as a notice of intent to amend the regulation.
Would you move those together or separately?
I'd like to move them together if Madam Parliamentarian will say that it's okay, Mike.
Second, is there any, there's been a motion, a second, is there any discussion of the motion? Hey, folks over there on the right, any discussion? Okay, any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted. Moving right along, Governor Pettit.
Madam Chair, Budget Committee met this morning. We have 3 items to bring before the board. First, the approval of additional legislative issues, LBR issues, one being a $24 million addition to the LBR for this session to refund universities funds expended in additional utility costs. Number 2, the $5.9 million for the FCLA. We're going to leave that in the budget. It's not an addition, but it was at issue last time. Number 2, we want to approve our 0809 SUS operating budgets. And number 3, we have a notice of intent to amend Board of Governors Regulation 9.013 relating to auxiliary operations. Unfortunately, I think we need to take those all as separate motions, Madam Chair, and I make motion A, the legislative agenda items as described.
There's a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted.
Move item B, 2008-2009 SUS operating budgets.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted. C.
And I move item C, the notice of intent to amend Board of Governors Regulation 9.013.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted.
Completes our
Moving right
report,
along.
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Governor Pappas.
We have 2 items. The first being action on the approval of the amended and restated articles of incorporation for the Johnny Bird Alzheimer's Center and Research Institute involved in the University of South Florida.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted. B.
The second item, I was remiss, we did not take up in our committee meeting, but since it was a committee of the board, and I think we still have a quorum, the university compacts we had originally anticipated being due in November, and so that the universities know the timetable we're operating on, we are going to extend that date. The recommendation is that we extend that date until July of '09. We may have some additional discussion about the content of those compacts, but just so you all are informed as to the timetable. So I will need a vote on that of the whole.
So your motion is then to extend
That date till July
Second.
of '09.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, show it adopted. All right, is there any more business to come before the board? Educational attainment?
There was a discussion of enrollment, but no conclusion, and we will readdress it in November.
In November, yes. The only thing I'd like to comment on, during the break, I had an opportunity to talk to a few people, and there is quite a bit of interest in our participating in the discussion of the state college system. And I asked a few of the presidents, and I would ask the chancellor to communicate with Commissioner Smith to make some recommendation as to the best way for us to participate in that process without getting in the way of it, but to be able to provide constructive input into it. And so I would just ask that during the interim, we would come back and talk about that, and to the extent that we need to take any action, we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Dr. Lamont reminds me that we were moving to endorse the recommendations to the State College System Task Force that we had
That's
approved at the
correct.
meeting. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's,
Second.
there's been a motion, second. Is there any further discussion of that item? Okay, hearing none. Is there any objection? Show it adopted. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I will be appointing a search committee with respect to the chancellor. So that will probably come out in the next week or so. So anybody that has any ideas or thoughts on the matter, I will receive them willingly. And if there's nothing more, we're adjourned.